I'll make it up.
All right. It does appear that my official clock, the clock that I have here says it's 9:30. It's just turning 9:30 there, and I know we didn't have Andrew yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And didn't see anybody from the P&J at this particular moment, but I guess they'll be walking in. We got two independent reporters here, so that you'll have to take notes with P&J, Rick. All right. A couple of things this week that we have going on. One of the big things I think you might have seen last week, bicyclists can now take advantage of the new bike lanes on the section of North Palafox in downtown Pensacola. Also, those parking spaces are there. I parked in one yesterday, one went to church, so they're already getting used. Again, we believe this will enhance safety coming in and out of downtown, and we've been talking with FDOT about extending that same concept to the north side of Cervantes, and I think over time we'll be seeing that. So again, I think we'll see Palafox as a way for pedestrians and bicyclists to be able to enter downtown in a safe way. So we are working on that, and we'll be continuing to do so. Also, last weekend's the mayor's cleanup collected over 41 tons of bulk waste for disposal, along with 127 tires and 514 gallons of paint. Rick was taking notes for you.
I appreciate it. It's always good for me. Weather delay. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. So again, the cleanup will, as I said before, the cleanup allows residents to clean areas that make them eligible for curb cleanup day to pick up sanitation services. The next one will be and is scheduled for Saturday, August 31st. This area will be the Cordova Park area, and I know I'll have some of my stuff out there. We certainly this is one of the things that we do with our making sure that we have these bulk pickups for you. We ask that you take advantage. We send it out the first of the month, first of the year. We have about 10 different scheduled for different neighborhoods. We hope you'll take advantage of doing that. It's something that we offer through again our sanitation services. So we hope you'll take advantage. Lastly, tomorrow night, August 6th, is the annual National Night Out Crime and Drug Prevention event. It's a free event. It'll be run from 5:30 to 7:30 at Legion Field. That's 1301 West Gregory. Pensacola Police Department and Escambia County Sheriff's Office and many other organizations will be participating. School supplies for children will be available at the event while supplies last. So we hope we will see you tomorrow night at Legion Field. It's always a great event. I was there a couple of years ago, and I know last year, I believe it was in Warrington, and I was there as well. It's a great event. It switches back and forth between the city and the county. So seeing Chief Leiter here, I know we are happy to participate in that. I'm going to go over a couple of things that I'm going to talk about this task force, what we do know. There are a lot of things, obviously, we don't know at this particular time that we're still working through, but I'll be talking about a couple of them. I also have Jeff Tharp here with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm going to call him up after I finish my comments. He's going to come up here, and then we will certainly be here to answer any questions. But as you know, Chief Leiter Administrator Holly and myself sent a letter to U.S. Attorney Larry Keith requesting federal support in efforts to improve and stop gun violence here in the Pensacola area and really Northwest Florida. Our first and highest priority is certainly to protect our citizens and again, to make sure that we protect them from gun violence in any way we can do that. I'm extremely grateful to U.S. Attorney Keith's timely response and enthusiastic agreement. This new task force will begin operations soon. We will be having a meeting with the Attorney General here or the District Attorney, and we will have a meeting here on Thursday. So that at that time we will be discussing a little bit more operational. I don't know any of the particulars that much on the operational. I know that one of the things we were excited about, this program had been done both in Tallahassee and in Gainesville and successfully removed a lot of the gun violence from those areas. We certainly have seen a spike recently here, and we want to take care of some of those problems we've seen here in Pensacola and Escambia County. Well, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it, and more than anything else, we also believe that we will be getting we'll be getting some training for our Pensacola Police Department. So we're very excited about that. Our goal is to get the illegal guns and criminals off the street, and this is be a cooperative agency with the U.S. District Attorney, and we certainly appreciate them. With that, I'm going to ask U.S. Attorney's Office Jeff Tharp to come up here and say a couple of words, and then we'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jeff Tharp. I'm an Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Florida, and I'm here today representing our office and here on behalf of U.S. Attorney Lawrence Keefe. We received a letter last week from the city, and we are here to support any way we can. That includes some training that was referenced, and we, through the Department of Justice, have vast resources and training. In addition, under the Department of Justice, under that umbrella, we have our partner agencies, which include the FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals Service, and DEA. And after we received the letter, we had a meeting with all of our partners last week with the ATF, FBI, U.S. Marshals Service, and the DEA to begin our coordination piece. The next step is coordinating more with the city, but also this issue isn't just a local Pensacola issue, it's a regional issue. So we're going to ask our surrounding law enforcement agencies and the surrounding communities to also join this task force, and those invites will be going out soon. In addition, the state attorney, we've already coordinated with the state attorney's office, and they're going to be a big part of this. Also, FDLE with one of our state partners. So we're going to have a lot of agencies involved. We're doing a very similar thing in Tallahassee right now in Leon County, and the local and state and federal law enforcement are working together very well, and that is the model we're going to try to bring to Pensacola.
With that, we are open to questions.
Mayor,
Yes.
was there any, I know there have been a lot of incidents, was there any one incident that triggered this?
You know, I still think, you know, and again, we simply got the call shortly after the press conference that Lou and I did, which was in response to the Elizabeth Harris, the Platinum Club. If you remember, right after that, we had a series of shootings after that, sort of retaliation back and forth. Then we had we had the shooting with the person on Garden Street, and that was when Commissioner May and I said we needed to have this. It was shortly after that I got a phone call saying, hey, there's this thing working in Tallahassee. Have you looked into it? Do you know about it? So again, we've been trying to look at it, work through a couple of things. This has been in the works for some time. And then for us, it sort of dovetailed into some other efforts over the last couple of weeks that we've been looking at dealing with training. We've kind of gone back to them and as we set some of these things up in goals that we thought were achievable for what was going to work for Pensacola and what was going to work for the district attorney's office. It sort of came to a point where we thought, okay, we're ready to pull the trigger. We sent the letter, and obviously this is where we're starting this process. But I think a lot of it started out of that Elizabeth Harris shooting. Yes.
When you mention the importance of training for PPD, to my ears it gives the impression that there's something deficient that needs to be made up. Is that your impression, or what is the training and the nature of the training that you see needing to happen?
I think along those lines we have a young force. We said this before, and we need to be working on that. We stepped into a situation where we realized that training had been cut dramatically, not just in the PPD, but all over. We've made a real attempt in this year's budget, both at PPD and at the general employee level to invest in our employees, both in what we give them compensation, but also in what we give them in training. So, this is a point for us to do this. We were headed in this anyways on gun violence, but when we had that opportunity to partner, we asked the question, would there be opportunities for us to learn from you and these other agencies? And again, we were told, yes, that would be part of this agreement. We said, we got to be on force. We need to be continually working on them so that they're better trained to how they perform in the services they offer the community.
We had gone in the city for over a year and a half with no murders. And then, we know we had this sudden spike. What reason is there to think that this is a real problem that can be solved through, or is it just the alternative in terms of things happen a lot, things happen a little?
Again, what I've seen is a spike in this, and what I generally see happening is communities our size, they tend to be balloons. If you're applying another pressure to another community our size, people just tend to move, pick up, and take their activity somewhere else. So maybe we weren't a target city, but obviously maybe some other things have happened in other communities, and now people have chosen to come to Pensacola, and we obviously that's not what we're looking for here. That's not what we want for our quality of life, for the image we have for this community. So again, we want to find a way to address it. If other communities are doing that, then we need to be doing the same thing and providing protection for our citizens.
So is the theory that they're from somewhere else?
That I don't know. I'm just simply saying that could be. Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel it's timely? Feel the training is timely for this, and will tie in with the shootings like in Dayton and other places?
I think all these things will be opportunities. I'll let Jeff speak to anything in particular that he might think, but overall, I think anytime we can have a chance to be engaged with FDLE, with federal agencies, and be able to learn from what they have, because they spend a lot more time and money and training, and we're trying to get there. We put money into the budget this year. We're looking to take advantage of some of those things. We already said we were working on that. So this was an opportunity. We asked in this process, would there be training opportunities for us to learn? And so we were told yes. So again, that's a lot of what we have. We realize there are deficiencies. We realize that, it wasn't just PPD, it was all over. We had cut training. So this year's budget puts a lot of training back in all these agencies, not only our PPD, but other city. But obviously we're here talking about PPD, but here's an opportunity for us to learn from both federal and state agencies.
With our entertainment district too, lately we've had, several.
All of these things we're looking at. And I think obviously we were moving in this direction without the events of this weekend. I think the events of this weekend just highlight how much you got to be on top of what you're doing and how difficult a job this is for the PPD. It's a very difficult job when you consider all the things that you have to be watching out for. But we have to be vigilant and we have to be trained. And I think, I certainly see Chief Leiter here. I know that's what he feels as well. That's why he put his name on that letter as well.
I got a question, Mr. Thorpe.
Yes.
In Tallahassee, can you give us kind of an outline of some of the initiatives that are part of what you're doing in Tallahassee?
Yes, there's an outreach piece in Tallahassee also that the sheriff started community outreach, and then there's from the federal side we're mostly here for the law enforcement piece of it, but we are providing some people to go assist with outreach. The U.S. Attorney is actively involved with that with the Leon County Sheriff, and I think they even have an event maybe even tomorrow. They're going to go out and speak with community leaders. So that's a piece of it. But with the Department of Justice, our resources, we obviously have the federal law enforcement resources that can go outside the city of Pensacola, can go outside the state of Florida, can go outside even our country's borders to go after people that commit crime. But one of the other pieces that people don't know about is the training piece, and we have grants and different programs that we do here, but these are now will be highlighted with Pensacola Police, and we'll have events for local law enforcement.
Several years ago, we had a gun task force, and we had the last spike. Grover, you were on the county commission at that time. And is this, Tommy, do y'all see this to be similar than the gun task force that we had before? I'm looking for some specifics. I understand.
I do, and I don't want to get into the operational. We have a partnership right now with the ATF, Gun Crimes Task Force, with the DEA through HIDA, And with U.S. Marshals, what this does really is bring everything together in the U.S. Attorney's Office
Okay.
and focus on that.
But it will operate similarly, you believe, or?
I believe so, yes.
Because what happened with the task force, whenever there was a shooting, then you had the whole force of all the agencies at one time descend on the neighborhood and look at the situation.
And, you know, I think that the mayor had mentioned that it's not necessarily one incident for us. We found out if you have a shooting, you're going to have another shooting.
Right.
Just very rarely do you have one, and we don't want to wait till it gets out of hand. We have a very hard line. The mayor is very supportive of that, is we have 0 tolerance for violent crimes. And we've seen a spike in shootings, and we're in a position where very fortunate to have the federal government come in and help us, our federal partnership.
Mr. Tharp, real quick, you talk about the region. Does this include Escambia County with our sheriff? Would they be involved in other counties like Santa Rosa County? Would you contact them to be with part of the city of Pensacola?
Yes, we're in the initial coordination phase right now, but the plan would be to get our local sheriffs involved and our other local law enforcement agencies because this is more than just the city of Pensacola. It's a regional problem. So we're going to be coordinating soon to invite all of our partners.
Have you reached out to them yet?
We've done some initial coordination, but we're gonna. This is new. We met with the DOJ partners on Thursday, responded to the city on Friday. So right now we're getting with the DOJ and PPD to figure out who we're gonna invite and how it's gonna work. But our goal is to invite every law enforcement agency or state agency in this region.
It would seem like that would mean crossing state lines. The benefit of having you guys involved in Baldwin County, Escambia, Alabama. Are they also going to be part of this?
Well, with the Marshals Task Force and with our Department of Justice and federal law enforcement resources, we can go across state lines.
Can you also speak a little bit about the police training? Because it seems like you're kind of lumping two, separate issues into one pile here with the, the police shooting incident and gun violence in general. Like, what kind of training are they going to get? Because it seems like two separate kind of trainings.
And again, I'll be happy to let them speak that. It is two different issues, but I think part of it highlighted on when we started talking to them, and they said, there'd be this available. We're like, man, we're already at a deficit. So anything that we could get, we certainly felt like was going to be good. But again, we had already, regardless of this effort, we had already put forward budget money for training in this year that we had already put in there. So again, we were making that commitment. We just thought they kind of dovetailed. But anyways, I'll let them speak. Again, I'm not the operational guy, but when we haven't even had the operational meeting, so a lot of it we can't necessarily speak to at this point. But what we have been told is, yes, we will have assets that we can bring to you, both from the federal and state level, to be able to work with you.
Yeah, and again, part of the training component we've been talking about for quite some time, where we had a high turnover. That's not a secret. We're a very young police department, not only in the operational side, but we lost some of our trainers, guys with 25 years experience. Greg Robichaux, those kind of guys that brought a lot to the table. I'm standing here right now. I've got 2 officers up in Kansas City on a train the trainer class, and that stuff is very expensive. They're going to bring that training back. And we're very fortunate. Part of the appeal with our federal partners is the expertise that they bring to the table, not just the manpower, but the expertise. And we're going to try to capitalize on that knowledge while they're here. It just makes sense to us.
And I have kind of the same question as Jeremy, which is, use of force training, which was mentioned previously in relation to the Tamar Crawford case, is one issue, but, preventing crime is, to me, there's really different issues and they're kind of being thrown all together. Are we really talking about addressing all of that and more? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and again, we're working through, we were talking this morning about what the training what I'm requesting, what it is that they can offer, and then we're going to capitalize on the opportunity, all the expertise that they bring to the table. The funding, the reality of it is they bring funding to the table as well, and it just makes sense to capitalize on that at the same time.
What are you capitalizing on though? Maybe Jeff can answer this question. Like, what kind of training are you providing? Are you providing, crime prevention training or some other kind of training that's going to deal with officer-related shootings?
We have a wide range of training that we can offer the Department of Justice. Specifically what classes or what training we can provide will be determined at a later point. We have individuals in our office that work with the grant programs, that work with other programs in the Department of Justice that offer training. and we're going to get together with the chief, and we're going to decide on what they want and what we can offer. But right now, we have the resources, but we haven't gotten to specifics yet.
Jeremy, part of it is the same though. When you're out there and you have criminals one way or another, whatever they've done, the tactics will somewhat be the same. I mean, the idea is to figure out ways to apprehend and move forward. And those things, those tactics and some of the things and how we work in coordination, those will be things that they'll learn. You know, I mean, some of it is totally two different issues, but some of it is the same. So I do think there will be opportunities for us to learn and be better at how we deploy when we're there in a situation. And I mean, I think part of it is it happens whenever you're there. The more you do something, the more the better you are at it. So I mean, some of it bleeds over. It won't be exactly everything won't be the exact same, but part of it will you know, just the tactics you use. I think will ultimately spill over somewhat to what we're doing. But regardless of that, we've still put money in the training for other things that we're already working on. But we clearly recognize that was a deficiency, and we've been trying to address it.
You said earlier when you stepped into the mayor's office and found training had been cut dramatically. What had been cut, and what are y'all restoring?
Yeah.
Mostly funding. You know, again, it's about a 75% increase in our training budget. When we need it, again, the most, because we're such a young police department. Historically, you could hire 5 or 6 guys and it takes time to train them outside of just their core responsibilities. When you have the turnover rate that we did, it's difficult to operate like that. So we really need to get these guys special training.
Are you talking about specific classes y'all were having to put off because you didn't have funding to send enough people or that kind of thing? Like,
Yes. Yeah, over the last couple of years, we've always had to training budget fundings would run out. We were very fortunate, again, we were in a position where we had in-house trainers. So it was much more cost effective for us to do the in-house training than it is now, where we just lost those core trainers, and we're building that up. We have, again, we have officers that train the trainer classes right now out of state, and we have a couple more coming up. It just takes time to get that training for those in-house trainers, and then I anticipate we can do most of that stuff in-house. Again, I think you asked the question about what type of training, and you gave some examples, and the short answer is yes. We're going to capitalize on everything that we can. We'll look at what they have to offer and just capitalize. And I don't know that I have some ideas in mind, and if they can offer it, they can. If not, we'll go outside for that stuff. But everything from tactical training to, I think, Project Safe Neighborhoods, they do a great job with a lot of the community outreach. So I think Mr. Powell does a wonderful job with the city. He's a key aspect to that. But there's a training component that we can really capitalize on when they're here.
I think, you know, that's a case of right there where I mean, just in the short amount of time to be referenced by the chief is already making a difference in what we're doing by having somebody in that position. That's, I mean, Mr. Powell didn't start more than a month ago, so you know, I mean, that's something we're getting out there and being able to be of a wide variety of things. Again, we've made an investment in trying to take care of our citizens. We see the task force as being nothing more than that, an attempt to make sure that we're looking at public safety and safety of our citizens.
As a layman, it seems like we hear all the time about drug interdiction. I don't hear an awful lot about what's done to control illicit guns, but it seems like that would be an essential element of what would be going on here. Maybe I feel uneducated about that side of the equation.
One of the initiatives and one of the priorities of the Department of Justice is to get legal guns or people that are prohibited from possessing firearms off the street. If you look at what we indict and the cases we indict, you see a lot of them, drugs and guns are related. And you see a lot of the cases, there's gun and drug charges at the same time. But yeah, guns is a priority. We indict through the grand jury does, through the ATF. They bring a lot of cases, and we do indict a lot of felon possession of firearms and cases like that.
Is there any application of the red flag law that went into effect last year? Is there any variant of that that would work towards, you know, non-felons who can't have a gun anyway, to preempting this kind of violence?
Yeah, I don't have any expertise on that state law, but that's something probably we're going to work with the state attorney. It'd be a question they can answer.
Hey, can you give us the timeline one more time? Like, when do y'all start this stuff?
We have a meeting with with Larry Keefe, the district attorney will be in town on Thursday. We'll begin that process of knowing a little bit more operationally. He'll be here to talk to myself, but also really to talk with Chief Leiter and our people there. Once we get over the operations side, I turn that all over to the chief, and he runs that. But I do believe the other part of the partnership and what they're working on, that's going to happen out of the district attorney's office. We certainly are in, and we're happy to work with anybody on the team. We said anybody and everybody that can help, and I will, I'll let Mr. Tharp kind of speak to the issues of where they are and what he thinks his timeline would be.
The actual timeline and operation itself we're probably not going to disclose that information because that would actually hurt the operation itself. But, it's one of our gun safety and violence, prevention of violence is one of the priorities of the Department of Justice. So we're going to use our resources, and the operation will last until we feel that we made a good progress in the violence in the city.
For Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Two questions. One, you talked about outreach, like the sheriff in Tallahassee, what they're doing. Maybe talk a little bit more in specific about what that is. And the second one, and maybe start here, is, okay, so we all represent the media. What can we do to help, or what are we doing that hinders the problem, in your opinion?
With the outreach piece, we're still in the initial coordination phase of that for the operation here in Pensacola. But the sheriff of Leon County is very involved with the community, and he's brought in our office to assist. But there's outreach, all different types of programs they're doing there. That's why if you look at the operation in Tallahassee, it's called All in Leon, because they're bringing all the resources, not just the law enforcement part of it, and to combat the violence there. So that would be a good operation, a good plan to try to mirror over here. We just haven't got down to the specifics yet. In regards to the media, I don't really have any comment on that, but I think addressing what we're doing and putting this in the news does help with deterrent effect. But besides that, I don't really have a comment on the media part.
I mean, we're part of outreach, is what I was thinking.
Oh, the outreach piece, okay.
How can we be part of outreach that's effective?
And when we plan, we'll think about how to engage.
When they give us the word when it happens, we'll absolutely be in touch. Yes. I mean, at this point, we're still learning, so.
We'll engage the media. That's but we had a discussion this morning.
And Casey was in the meeting, so yes, we will be. However, we need to work with that. We'll be working on that going forward. Well, any other questions that are not related to the task force?
While Tommy's up here, have y'all heard any feedback from the FDLE?
Yeah, I would prefer yes, but at this point it's too early to talk. So,
Do we have any time expectation?
I know they generally request 45 days. We'll do another briefing. That's where we are. 45 days from the incident is generally what we look at.
City Council today, micromobility is on the agenda. Has that ordinance, I read through it, it seemed very similar to what was in there before.
It is. I mean, it's basically the idea of what we're doing right now is passing the ordinance that allows us to move forward. I think the devil in the details is going to be in that individual agreement that allows us to put forward with each group. Right now, again, we're still trying to determine. I think the big part is, okay, how many scooters do we have, and how many companies do we look to work with to start with? At this point, I have no problem necessarily having multiple. I think in that sense, but we would limit the number. We know there's a number that would work for Pensacola. I'd rather limit the number and give a couple of different companies to make sure we're getting competitive, rather than just giving the city over to one and not sure that we would, again, as we try to learn from this, I'm not opposed to allowing multiple companies express an interest. I'm happy to allow them to participate, and I think free enterprise creates the best desired result for the end user. So from that standpoint, I think that's where we're going to go. But again, I don't vote on the council. They may totally change, but that's at least where I'd be looking to start.
I've been kind of curious why Tallahassee was the model when theirs is even now still in operation pilot program as opposed to a municipality where it's already worked well.
You know, I think Susan tried to look at comparable positions that she thought were there, and I know there are other cities in Florida that had things. I think she felt like at the end of the day that's what happened. I think the only thing I heard about Tallahassee was necessarily the pricing model that we went off of. I mean, I think we tried to incorporate as many other cities in there. You know what we were trying to do. And again, if the pricing model turns out not to be the right model, it's pilot. We'll figure it out. We'll adjust. Yes.
I was going to say, we're also waiting until the new state law went into effect July 1st, so there's nobody that really has much experience since then with it. So we've been organizing it off of that. And of course, when it comes to council, it's open to, like you said, councils, you know, whatever their desire is to alter fees or geographic area.
Did you look at other states? No.
I mean, it was certainly the other groups did talk to us, but we generally try to focus it back to Florida because we do have to live within the Florida law. So I mean, we're not opposed to when we talk to them, but everybody kind of came back to Florida because that's the law we got to live with. So that's why we started looking for different parts within Florida. But it's like this tree ordinance. I mean, everybody's trying to learn as we move forward. You know, something new passes, and okay, what does it mean, and how do we work? I think we're trying to figure that out. I would just say, in our, I mean, whether it was in the county or the city, we tend to be much more comfortable when we understand because they have the same issues with state law. A lot of times you'll look at another municipality or something, and then you'll find out, well, okay, you can't do this because it's preempted. You know, this community in this state allows this community to do it. Okay, that would not work in Florida because this is preempted, or we vice versa. So that's why a lot of times we end up looking at Florida communities.
Another thing that's on council agenda today is the proposal for a semi-annual meeting with the county and the council. You think that's feasible?
I'm more than happy to do it. We've been meeting monthly, Lumen and I have. So to bring the whole boards together, absolutely, I think it's feasible. And I think we're in a good position probably to start that process of doing it. And if, you know, I think if we could, we'll see how it goes from the first time. And I think if we do it semi-annually, that's great. If we go from there, if we need to be coordinating more, but I'm going to continue to meet monthly with the chairman and with county administrative staff and city administrative staff. We're going to continue to have those meetings on a monthly basis. Yes.
This is actually for Tommy as well. Andrew's reported on this a little bit. The recent law regarding hemp cultivation
Yes.
and District 2's
Yeah, judicial circuit
Right.
two, right.
design to prosecute pot crimes or pot, incidences. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you know, as standing here right now, marijuana is legal under very narrow circumstances. That is medical marijuana with a qualified condition. You have to go to the right doctor. It has to be packaged correctly, it has to be transported correctly, it has to be used correctly. And until that law changes, we're going to continue to enforce marijuana laws.
What are your thoughts on this other law making it difficult?
It certainly makes it difficult, but it's not impossible for us to enforce it. We work very closely with our in-house attorneys. And it's a statewide conversation that we're having, not just on the chief level, but through the attorneys to, it's kind of a +1.
Do you expect challenges to, possession level?
There's always challenges, so we'll just, at this point, if they legalize it, we'll quit enforcing it. But it's a tough spot for a chief to be in. You take the oath to enforce the laws, and as of right now, marijuana is still illegal. It's legal under very narrow circumstances, and we'll continue to enforce the law as it's written.
How do you tell your officers to enforce it when they're out there, they smell something, and how do you tell them to enforce it,
Yeah, again, we're working through that. Generally, it's the Miranda, it's the +1. It's the smell plus a conversation about medical marijuana, and then is it hemp? And it's certainly challenging for us. It's something that we're working through. But again, until that law changes, my expectations are to continue to enforce it. A lot of the gun violence that we're experiencing is narcotics driven, a lot of it. And when you get this mental image about the end user of marijuana, the stoner sitting on his couch, the amount of violence involved in getting that to him there's still a lot of violence surrounding marijuana. So you got to, have a unique perspective as the chief and almost 30 years experience. So there's still a lot of street violence surrounding marijuana. And you got to get past that image of the end user, the guy that's sitting on the couch, eating potato chips and smoking a joint. That's not the truth behind the marijuana trade.
So a dog sniff or field test plus other factors.
Correct, yes.
Are probable cause.
In the context of, the marijuana conversation combined with the recent incidents in which, kind of a snip and search incident turned into a fatality,
Yep.
Officer shooting, are you giving your officers any additional or new instructions on that?
We are, and that was the discussion that we had and again, what was unique is they dropped the hemp law, they worked it into a farm bill, and usually we have a lot of lead time. We kind of see it coming and we can work through it, but they dropped it on us really without any notice. So that's where we were playing catch up with it from an enforcement standpoint. But yes, we're giving the officers very clear direction. And I'm looking at body camera videos and they're doing what we're asking them to do, which is engage them in conversation. Sorry, Andrew. Engaging them in conversation and working through it.
Does anyone have any other questions for the mayor? I just don't want to turn into Chief Blighter's press conference.
Mayor, over the weekend I heard a rumor that city officials have been sharing copies of the Tamar Crawford shooting with members of the community. Is that true?
Well, I don't have any, we don't have anything at this particular point. Now, what we've talked about doing is when it becomes public to do that with community. So yes, we are looking at that and doing
So no video's been shared outside of City Hall?
No,
with anybody?
no. My understanding is no.
Have the video?
I don't have video, so I don't think we have any video here. I mean, Chris,
I didn't hear the question.
the question was, do we have, does City Hall have the video of the Time War shooting? I said no.
No? Okay.
We don't have anything here. But we are planning, we have been discussing that when it does become public, we would do a community outreach with it. We have been discussing that, absolutely. So if again, I don't know what the rumor, how things end up going, but we have clearly been saying that when we have it and it's ready to go, we would like to release it with the community and be involved in that. So we are very much trying to put that together. Again, one of the things that we were told is be as open as possible. We're gonna be absolutely open. I mean, we want to put it out there and let everybody see it and see all the facts when they get it. Again, the only thing is we're not doing anything until the FDLE investigation is over.
Good deal.
But we have already had discussions about how do we do this when it comes out, and we absolutely want to have the community involved, and we want to work through it that way in a very open way.
All right, good deal.
Yes, Mayor. One of the Escambia County Commissioners wants to remove the 4-cent gas tax from ECAT. What is the city's position on this?
the city has no position. We don't create gas tax. We don't collect it. We don't do anything else. We simply have we have the ability, if it gets collected and they decide to do it, there's a part through statute that does allow us to obtain a certain percentage. At this particular time, we believe the agreement that is there, we continue to if the county is doing it for that, we're in partnership with the county, and we're gonna continue to do the interlocal agreement that would support ECAT with that money. That's the reason they're doing it. It serves a purpose. It's a great. This is one of those consolidated services. Those bus routes are in the county. They're in the city. It seems like we would participate within that. So at this point, the city will be as participatory as we can to help the county. I've made that commitment, and we will continue to help the county in any way we can. We do not control the gas tax. It's not ours. I don't know why. Well, again, it's politics. So, I mean, politics do not create good communities. Good communities are done by good cooperation and teamwork and collaboration. On that end, you'll always find the city available to do that. The city is not going to get into the rumor mill and trying to put stuff out to say stuff negatively. That's not who the city is. I don't totally think that's who the county is, but I mean, it's unfortunate sometimes these things happen. But again, that's sort of where we are. I appreciate it. Yes.
Are you planning on doing a state of the city?
We're doing one, I think, this week with the chamber. I'm speaking to them.
It's kind of a paid event. Are you doing a public street city?
Well, we hadn't really discussed, again, that. I'll talk to Casey and we'll see as we get forward. I mean, again, our fiscal year doesn't start a new one, but a lot of the messages would be the same. We'd be happy to. We did believe we were trying to give a free one every week here. We'll be happy to discuss this. I mean, if you want to have a budget press conference and talk about where we are, state of the city, we'll be happy to do that. I mean, we've tried to be as accessible as possible.
Another question I got. Do you have any concerns about the recent water qualities given the city's trying to develop Bruce Beach and the swimming and recent recreation areas?
I mean, obviously, those are all problems we have. I think one of the things that I'm most proud of, if I look back at things that we've accomplished, I believe that the Pensacola Bay, Perdido Bay watershed group, the National Estuary Plan. It's not, we didn't get an estuary plan. We got like the estuary plan light, but I still think that is going to be probably the single most important aspect as we turn forward. If you look at Mobile Bay, you look at Tampa Bay, you look at Sarasota Bay, you look at all these other bays that are participating in that program, those things yield results because they're based on science, not politics. So I believe long term, that's where I think the solution go. I mean, we're always concerned about issues. We had challenges in Bayou Tahar. I mean, it's not like we didn't know we have if we have rain events that we can get fecal counts that are significantly high. I mean, those are things we know. I mean, I think the bayou is so much more healthy than it has been. I think we've made a tremendous amount of progress. That doesn't mean we don't have progress to make, and we're going to continue to try to make it as far as we can. But again, part of it is these are natural, and some of these inland estuaries, they're natural events. I mean, there's a certain amount of natural that's going to happen, and you just got to work within that. And some of that is inland estuaries are a little bit have more challenges than larger estuaries. But I'm not aware that Bruce Beach was as significant of a problem as some of our bayous. But again, that all has to do with the amount of rainwater and the size of that basin. So again, Bruce Beach is something we're very worried about, but we believe the estuary plan coming forward for the Pensacola Perdido Bay, it's going to yield results that will make those problems better. And I'm convinced of that. One of the things I'm most proud about helping be involved in the creation of that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.